Stupendous.
Ugh, I just can't get past level 1 of my mem-bean.
Multifarious.
Multifarious? What does that even mean? How did you get to level 5?
I don't know. I just have an irreproachable vocabulary status. I guess you could call me John Leisure. Or maybe even Shakespeare.
Shakespeare?
Yeah, William Shakespeare. He had one of the foremost vocabularies of his time. He invented many words and phrases that we still use today.
Wow, could you tell me more about this Shakespeare character?
Of course, Kiana. Let me just tell you about him.
William Shakespeare was born on April 23, 1564, in Stratford-upon-Avon, England, to his father John Shakespeare and mother Mary Arden. His father worked as a leather merchant. John and Mary had 2 daughters, Joanne and Margaret, who died before William was born. After William was born, Mary gave birth to Gilbert, a second Joanne, Richard, and Edmund. Only the second Joanne outlived William. William was educated at the King Edward VI Grammar School in Stratford. There he learned Latin, Greek, and read about the Roman dramatists. At the age of 18, Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway, a woman 8 years his senior. When they got married, Anne was already pregnant, and she gave birth to Susanna on May 26, 1583. 2 years later, on February 2, 1585, twins Hamnet and Judith were born. No records exist encompassing Shakespeare's activities during 1585 and 1592. Scholars call this time period the lost years, and there are ample amounts of speculation regarding what William Shakespeare was doing during this time.
In 1594, Shakespeare joined the Lord Chamberlain's company of actors, the most popular of the companies acting at court. Shakespeare joined a group of Chamberlain's men in 1599 that would form a syndicate to build and operate the most famous theater of its time, called the Globe. Shakespeare composed 154 sonnets between 1593 and 1601. Also, he wrote more than 30 plays. With the exception of Romeo and Juliet, William Shakespeare's first plays were mostly histories written in the early 1590s. Some examples include Richard II, Henry VI, Parts 1, 2, and 3, and Henry V. Shakespeare also wrote several comedies during his early period, such as A Midsummer Night's Dream, Merchant of Venice, and Twelfth Night. It was in William Shakespeare's later period, after 1600, that he wrote the tragedies Hamlet, King Lear, Othello, and Macbeth. A little after 1612, William Shakespeare retired from the stage and returned to his home in Stratford. He died on April 23, 1616, and was buried 2 days later at Stratford Church.
Some of the main characters in this play include King Lear, who is the aging king of Britain and the father to 3 girls, Cordelia, who is Lear's youngest daughter and has the purest morals of the 3, Goneril, who is Lear's jealous, amoral, and eldest daughter, Regan, who is the middle daughter and is as evil as Goneril, Kent, a loyal nobleman of King Lear's, who is banished for being too blunt, Gloucester, a nobleman loyal to King Lear, and is also an adulterer, who fathered a bastard son, Edmund, Gloucester's younger illegitimate son, who schemes against his family, and Edgar, Gloucester's older legitimate son, who is often disguised as Poor Tom.
In the beginning of the play, King Lear decides he wants to retire because he is getting too old to rule his kingdom effectively. There is no male heir to inherit the throne, so King Lear decides to split up his kingdom between his 3 daughters, Cordelia, Goneril, and Regan. To decide how the land is going to be split up, Lear makes each of his daughters describe how much they love him. Goneril and Regan both excessively profess their love for their father, but they aren't sincere. Cordelia refuses to express the love she feels for her father because she insists that words are insufficient. This infuriates Lear, and he disowns Cordelia, as well as refusing to give her a dowry for marriage. Cordelia then runs away and elopes with the King of France. Lear ends up dividing the kingdom between Goneril, who is married to the Duke of Albany, and Regan, who is married to the Duke of Cornwall. Kent tries to warn Lear that he is making a mistake by punishing Cordelia, and in turn, Lear banishes Kent.
While all of this is happening, Shakespeare develops a subplot involving a man named Gloucester and his 2 sons, Edgar and Edmund. Gloucester is especially cruel to Edmund, calling him a bastard and making fun of his unwed mother. Edmund is scheming a plan to trick everyone into believing that Edgar is plotting to kill Gloucester. Fearing for his life, Edgar runs away and disguises himself as poor Tom, a homeless beggar.
Now that Lear is retired, he spends his time with Goneril and her husband Albany. Lear brings along his fool, a new servant, and 100 rowdy knights. Goneril becomes annoyed with having all these people around, so she tells Lear to kick out 50 of his knights or he has to leave. This angers Lear, and he goes to Regan's house to complain about Goneril. Regan decides to take Goneril's side, and the two sisters gang up on Lear, demanding that he gets rid of 75 of his knights. This makes Lear realize that Goneril and Regan don't actually love him. Lear becomes infuriated and runs out during a thunderstorm.
While outside, Lear runs into poor Tom, who is actually Edgar disguised as a naked and mad beggar. After a while, Lear realizes that he should have done more to help the homeless population while he was the king, and that all men are totally vulnerable in this world. Later, Gloucester decides to help Lear despite Goneril and Regan's orders not to. He provides him with a shelter outside of his palace. Gloucester advises that they should run off to Dover and join Cordelia, her husband, and her French army. Cordelia and her French army have been preparing for war against her two sisters, Goneril and Regan. When Gloucester goes back to his palace, he is apprehended for being a traitor. Regan and Cornwall pluck out Gloucester's eyeballs as punishment for helping out Lear, and then one of Gloucester's loyal servants kills Cornwall for blinding his master. In response, Regan kills the servant. Meanwhile, Edmund brings Goneril back to her own palace, and the two begin an affair along the way. When Edmund and Goneril hear the news that Cornwall has died, Goneril begins to worry that Regan might hook up with her secret lover Edmund.
Gloucester then travels to Dover in the care of poor Tom. Gloucester is very upset over his missing eyes and attempts suicide. However, poor Tom is able to stop him. When Gloucester arrives in Dover, Oswald, Goneril's servant, tries to kill him, but Edgar intervenes and kills Oswald. Before Oswald dies, he gives Edgar the letter he is carrying, which was en route from Goneril to Edmund, asking him to kill her husband so they can be together. In the next scene, we will be performing Act 4, Scene 7 of King Lear.
How does the king?
Madam, sleep still.
O you kind gods, cure this great breach in his abused nature. Wind up this child-changed father.
So please your majesty, that we may wake the king. He hath slept long.
Be governed by your knowledge, and proceed. It's the sway of your own will.
Be by, good madam. When we do awake him, I doubt not of his temperance.
Very well.
Please you, draw near. Louder the music there.
O my dear father, restoration, hang thy medicine on my lips, and let this kiss repair those violent harms that my two sisters have in thy reverence made.
Kind and dear princess.
Had you not been his father, these white flakes had challenged pity of them. Alack, alack. He wakes. Speak to him.
Madam, do you. 'Tis fittest.
How does my royal lord? How fair is your majesty?
You do me wrong by taking me out of the grave. Thou art a soul in bliss, but I am bound upon a wheel of fire, that my own tears scold like molten lead.
Sir, do you know me?
You are a spirit, I know. When did you die?
Still, far wide.
He's scarce awake. Let him alone a while. Where have I been? Where am I? Fair daylight? I am mightily abused. I will not swear these are my hands. Let's see. I feel this pinprick. Would I were assured of my condition.
Oh, sir, look upon me. Hold your hands in benediction over me. Sir, you must not kneel.
Pray, do not mock me. I'm a foolish, fond old man. 80 and upward, not an hour more, nor less. I fear I'm not in my perfect mind. Methinks I should know you, and know this man, yet I am doubtful. For as I am a man, I think this lady to be my child, Cordelia.
And so I am.
Be your tears wet? Yes, faith, I pray. Weep not. If you have poison for me, I will drink it. I know you do not love me, for your sisters have, as I remember, done me wrong. You have some cause, they do not.
No cause, no cause.
Be comforted, good madame. The great rage you see is killed in him. Trouble him no more.
Will't please your highness walk?
You must bear with me. Pray you now, forget and forgive, for I am old and foolish.
After the reunion of King Lear and Cordelia, Cordelia's French army loses the battle against Regan and Goneril's British forces, and Lear and Cordelia are captured. Edmund uses this situation as an opportunity to secretly plan Lear and Cordelia's executions. Goneril's husband, Albany, is enraged and demands that Goneril and her lover Edmund get arrested for treason because of their affair and their plan to kill him. Before Edmund is taken away, Edgar swoops in and stabs his evil brother in the stomach. Regan then abruptly dies after being poisoned by Goneril. After Edgar stabs his brother, he reveals his true identity to his father, Gloucester. Gloucester is so shocked that he has a heart attack and dies.
Goneril, feeling alone and confused, commits suicide. Although Edmund is stabbed, he manages to reveal that he has sent someone to kill Cordelia and King Lear, and that they need to act quickly if they want to escape. Cordelia is unable to escape in time and gets hanged by Edmund's executioners. When Lear enters with his dead daughter in his arms, he realizes that basically all of his family has died, and he in turn dies of a broken heart. Goneril's husband, Albany, and the good son Edgar are the only ones left to govern the kingdom, but Shakespeare leaves us with a sense that there is really no hope for the future.
Act 4, Scene 7 of King Lear is important for many reasons. First off, this scene is a turning point in the play. King Lear realizes that his daughter Cordelia is actually the only one who truly loves him. Also, this scene differentiates Cordelia from her sisters by proving she is an honest and loyal daughter, unlike Regan and Goneril. Her forgiveness for her father accentuates her morality and demonstrates that she truly cares about King Lear.
Also, this proves that Cordelia is not just trying to use her father for his power or land like her sisters did. Cordelia has no vengeance for her father, and she does not have a desire for him to suffer for his misjudgment against her. This is important because this demonstrates Cordelia's love for her father and high principles.
King Lear is a play filled with themes. Some of the main themes include loyalty, betrayal, and justice. Loyalty in this play comes at a price. Only Cordelia and Kent stay loyal to King Lear throughout the whole play, which causes great suffering for both of them, and in turn leads to their death. Loyalty is often ignored by the other characters for their own greed.
Betrayal plays a huge role in this play. Many of the characters betray each other to gain power for themselves. However, in the end, the characters' infidelity leads to their own destruction. The theme of justice is skewed in King Lear. Even though the wicked characters die, the honorable characters die as well. This leaves the audience with an uncertainty of whether good or evil triumphs in the end, or if justice prevails.
A critic named Fintan O'Toole from the Irish Times describes King Lear to be the most relentlessly bleak of Shakespeare's tragedies. He said the play was probably written at the peak of Shakespeare's tragic power. In King Lear, the themes of ingratitude and injustice are explored with unsurpassable power and depth. O'Toole says that greed, treachery, and cruelty are widespread, and the end of the play is both brutal and heartbreaking.
He also informs us that this play is considered so troubling to some of the audience that until the mid-19th century, it was performed with a non-Shakespearean happy ending. In that happy ending, Lear was back on the throne and Cordelia was married to the noble Edgar. He goes on to say that there's a dark magnificence to Shakespeare's original vision of the Lear story, and the play is performed today essentially as he wrote it, uncompromised by later improvements. Overall, in Fintan's opinion, King Lear is a relentless tragedy that is worth the read.
Throughout the years, we have read Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, and now King Lear. Overall, we enjoyed King Lear the most, and King Lear was action-packed, romantic, and even a little comical.
In the beginning, when both plots were introduced, the play was a little bit confusing, but as the plots intertwined, it became more clear to us. This tragedy had a heart-wrenching plot that kept us on the edge of our seats.
When I was reading, I felt bad for King Lear, though, because he basically lost all three of his daughters. Two of them lied to him out of greed because they just wanted land, and then the other one he banished, so basically he lost all three, so I felt bad for him.
I was very inspired by Cordelia and how she forgave her father in the end. If I was in her position, I don't think I could forgive my father for banishing me just because I told him the truth.
Yeah. The ending really upsetted me, though, when everyone died, but because like even though their intentions were good or their actions were good, it didn't matter. They basically all died.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a Shakespeare tragedy. What do you expect? There has to be a few deaths.
That's true. Well, thanks for teaching me so much about Shakespeare.
You're welcome, Kiana. I better get back to my membean. Gotta get those 45 minutes in a week.